Hey friends, I hope you had an awesome weekend. It is Monday morning, it is cloudy outside, and it is super cold. I just went for a run. That's why my hair is still wet. I hope you guys are doing really well, and I'm really excited for our first full week of distance learning. We are going to jump right into Monday, March 23rd's word study lesson, and we are going to start, as usual, with the word of the day. So go ahead. Word of the day. 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 All right, just like on Friday, I'm going to hold up a sentence that uses the word of the day, which I underline, and I want you to take a second to try and figure out what the word of the day might mean based on the context of the sentence. This says, I used a strategy to eliminate the answers that didn't make sense. I used a strategy to eliminate the answers that didn't make sense. Take a second. Write down what you think it might mean. What might eliminate mean based on this sentence? All right, so hopefully you have an answer written down. The word eliminate means to remove or get rid of. And that makes sense because if you look at the sentence, it says, I used a strategy to eliminate or get rid of the answers that didn't make sense. You could also say he eliminated the other candidates and got the nomination, right? He got rid of the other candidates, or she got rid of the other candidates and got the nomination for the election. All right, so the word of the day is eliminate. Say it. And it means to get rid of or remove. Okay, we'll revisit that later. For right now, what you need to be successful is this is not a pencil, but a pencil and your big packet. And you should be on this page, which just says word study Monday 3/23/20. So I'll give you a second to get your whole life together and flip. It's about halfway through the packet. Word study Monday 3/23. You should have your pencil with you. So take a second to get your whole life. And then we're going to jump right into talking about singular and plural nouns. So I made a nice poster. I went to school on Friday to get some materials so I could have better videos for you guys. And the beginning of this lesson is going to be pretty easy and mostly review. But then it's going to get to a bit of a trickier part where you have a bunch of rules that you need to remember. So this is a tricky one, but we'll have plenty of rhymes to keep them straight in your head. Cool? All right, the first thing you need to know and think about is the difference between a singular and a plural noun. A singular noun is when there's just one. And I know that that makes sense. We've talked about it already. Because if you have one single thing, you only have one. If you say I have a single jar of peanut butter left, you only have one jar of peanut butter left. A plural noun just means anything plural. It just means more than one. So if you have more than one of anything, you have a plural amount. We're going to take a walk over to the poster to go ahead and review all of these ideas written down. So you can go ahead, you can follow along in what I wrote on that paragraph for word study Monday 3/23, or you can just pause and look at the poster. All right, we're going to journey across my room and right to this poster. So you can see right at the top, it says singular means just one. That's like one shirt or one cat. A plural noun is more than one, like shirts or cats. Now, let's look at this first. Sorry, guys, I want to make sure that you can see the whole thing. Cool. Let's look at this first rule. Most nouns can be made plural by just adding s, like cookies, rings, or dogs. Take a second to see if you can come up with in your head with another word that you could just add s to and tell somebody that there's more than one. I'm thinking of blankets, jackets, looking around my room right now, books, bottles. All of those are pretty easy because all I have to do to make it plural is just add an s. Most words are like that, but of course there are tricky words that are going to try to trick you because there's different rules for making some nouns plural. Let's see what those are. All right, let's look right here. Now, if the noun ends with s, ch, sh, or x, you have to add es. A couple examples are watches, boxes, batches, and lashes. Now that might seem like a tricky one to memorize, but honestly, it's not super hard. It makes sense because if you think about just adding S to one of those words, it would sound super weird. And a really good rule for grammar is if it sounds weird, it's probably not right. If you say a word out loud and then you kind of find yourself making this face, then you probably didn't say it correctly and you need to think about the rule that would tell you how to fix it. So for example, if I tried to say the word watches and just add an S to the end of watch, I would say watches. And I know that that doesn't make sense because that sounds really weird. Same thing for box. If I were to just say bucks, then it sounds kind of like I'm sneezing at the end of the word. It doesn't sound right at all. So it makes sense that if you have a S or ch sound at the end of the word, at the end of your word, you have to add the sound is, because then it's much easier to hear that it's plural. So instead of watches, it's watches. Instead of boxes, it's boxes. Batches and lashes. So if it ends in a s, x, sh, or ch sound, you add es, which sounds like is. Cool? Cool. We'll do more practice with these, so don't worry if it's not completely clear in your head yet. All right. Now, it gets a little bit trickier, but there's a bunch of fun songs to help you remember. Now, if the noun ends in F, you drop the F and add VES, like knives, wolves, and wives. Now, I want you to think about how that would sound if you didn't drop the F and add VES. Right, so you can do a little dance. Drop the F and add VES. Now, if I were to try and say that I had more than one knife, and I said, yeah, I have a bunch of knives in my drawer, that would make a lot of sense because F and S, like together, doesn't sound right. If I were to say there were so many wolves running around, that doesn't sound right either. So it makes sense that you have to drop the F and add VES. Instead of you would say there's a bunch of knives in my drawer, a lot of wolves in a wolf pack, and a lot of wives were at the party. Cool. That's the first one you can kind of lock down. Drop the F and add VES. And then just to remind you, if it ends in like a sh or a sh sound, you have to add ES. Just add ES. Easy peasy. That one's the easiest because it just sounds wrong, in my opinion. All right. Now we get a little bit trickier. Now, there are two different things that can happen if your noun ends in Y. If the noun ends in a consonant and then the Y, you're going to drop the Y and add IES. An example is ladies, lady becomes ladies, city becomes cities, and baby becomes babies. The reason I remember that is because if I were to just add an S to the word baby, I would end up writing BABYS, which is just babis or babbies, and that doesn't make any sense at all. So I know I have to drop the Y and add IES, but that's not true for every single word that you have to that ends in a Y. If it ends in a vowel and then a Y, you drop the Y and just add S. Drop the Y and just add S. And those examples are like days and keys. And that's because it doesn't end in an E sound. If it ends in an E sound like lady or city or baby, then you add IES. If it ends in an E sound, you just add S. Super easy. So for Ys, you always have to check what the letter is before the Y at the end of the word. If it ends in a consonant and then a Y, you drop the Y and add IES. But if it just ends in a vowel and a Y, you just add S. Now, these pesky words at the bottom are the trickiest words of all, because guess what? There's not a rule for them. They're just the types of words that you have to memorize. It is what it is. English is a super tricky language. So these are the types of words you just kind of have to log in your brain and make sure that you remember. Fortunately, it usually will sound weird in your head if you don't pick the irregular word. So these are just called other irregular plurals. Child becomes children, deer stays deer. Tooth becomes teeth, mouse becomes mice, person becomes people, foot becomes feet, octopus or cactus becomes octopi or cacti, goose becomes geese, man becomes men, woman becomes women, sheep stays sheep. All right, I'm going to make sure that I include a photo of this poster so you have it with you while you're doing your work. But you can go ahead and keep that in your brain for now. And we are going to jump right in to our first activity. Okay, so I'm actually going to keep talking and keep the video on the poster so you have that to refer to while you're working on your word study. Okay, so right now you should be on the grammar worksheet. It looks, don't look at my answers, but it looks like that. It says grammar worksheet, plural nouns. So go ahead and take out your pencil and turn to the next page. Now that we've just reviewed everything, it should be pretty easy to figure out what goes in each blank. Cool? Cool. Now this one we're going to do looking at the poster, and the next ones we'll try to challenge ourselves. Okay. Number 1, I can see 2 fish in the fish tank. You'll notice how that one doesn't change because the plural of fish stays fish. You don't say fishes, you just say fish. All right. Number 2 says, how many child are there in the schoolyard? Well, what do I need to do to make child plural? Look right there. I'm going to say children. So number 2, you write how many children are there in the schoolyard. Number 3, we still need 3 more forks and knife for our dinner guests. Take a second to look at all of this poster and see if you can find the rule you need to use for the word knife. You drop the F and add V-E-S, so that word is knives. Number 4, many trees lose their leaf in the fall. What rule are you going to use for leaf? Yep, it's the same one as before. Drop the F and add V-E-S, that word becomes leaves. Many deer live in that forest. How can you make deer plural? Yep, it just stays deer. That's just a normal irregular. Number 6, sharks can grow thousands of teeth in a lifetime. How can you make tooth plural? It's just one of those irregulars. The answer is teeth. Number 7, what is the population of Mexico? How many person live there? How can you make person plural? That's another one you just have to memorize. That word is people. Number 8, cats like to catch mouse. How can you make mouse plural? Yep, it's another one that you just have to memorize. Mouse becomes mice. I really want to sit down. My foot are killing me. How can you make foot plural? Foot becomes feet. Number 10, octopus have 8 arms and live in the sea. How can you make octopus plural? Becomes octopi, just like cactus. Number 11, there are lots of ducks and goose in this park. What is the plural of goose? Geese. The policeman followed the 3 man out of the bank. Plural of man? Men. Number 13, many husbands and wife eat at restaurants on Valentine's Day. Drop the F and add V-E-S. That becomes wives. Number 14, wolf look very much like large dogs. Wolf becomes, drop the F and add V-E-S, wolves. Number 15, Farmer Brown has a lot of sheep. Now this is one where I ask myself, okay, does sheeps really make sense? Nope. Sheep just stays sheep. It's just one of those irregular words. Number 16, how many women work in your office? Woman becomes women. All right, so now you've had the experience of using your poster, thinking about all those rules. Let's take a second to just review quickly and take a second to lock in your brain. Can you remember what eliminate means? What does eliminate mean? eliminate means to remove or get out. So if I say I eliminated the stain in my sweatshirt, that means I got it all the way out. Take a second to review here. Remember, singular means just one. Plural means more than one. Most nouns, you can just make plural by just adding s, but if it ends in a sh, sh, or x sound, you have to add es, so you don't end up saying, I baked 6 batches of cookies. If the noun ends in f, you drop the f and add ves. Consonant in y is drop the y and add ies. And if it's a vowel in y, then you just add s. And then at the bottom, you have your irregulars that you just need to memorize. Okay, now let's turn the page and work on our next worksheet. All right, so I am going to do this with you. So you should be following along. Let's see if I can hold it right above so you can watch. Okay, now carry, I know that that ends in y. And what's my rule for consonant in y? You drop the y and add ies. So carry becomes carries. And it's the same thing if you're talking about the past tense. Carry becomes carried. Now it's the same thing here. You notice there's a consonant plus a y. So if it's a consonant plus y, you drop the y and add ies. So copy becomes copies. Don't worry right now for the past tense. We can worry about that later. Right now, I just want to focus on the plurals. All right. Now, I'm going to, again, whenever I see the y, I have to check the letter before. If it's a consonant, that means anything but that's not E, I, O, or U, I drop the y and add ies. So my French fry becomes my French fries. Same thing here. Another consonant before the y. Drop the y and add ies. Mary becomes married. Marries. Consonant before y. You might notice a bit of a theme here. It looks like it's all these consonants before y, which means we yet again get to drop the y and add ies. Consonant before y. Drop the y and add ies. Consonant before y. Drop the y and add ies. The same thing here. Drop the y and add ies. Now the reason why we're doing this, and we always check the letter before, is because if there's a vowel before the y, like key, you just have to add s. But all of these words always have consonants before the y, which means that you drop the y and add ies. All right. So you'll notice here, all of our plural nouns all drop the y and add ies, and that's because they had a consonant before the y instead of a vowel. You can do this on your own. That's just a reminder that the spelling is the same for past tense verbs. It's going to be just dropping the y and add ied, but it's pretty much the same thing. Cool? Cool. Okay, we have more work to do. Today is a super packed day for word study, which is exciting. So I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee. All right, let's move on to irregular plural nouns. Now, there's a little mini lesson here, but we actually already talked about it as a team. So we're just going to jump right in and see what we can remember from the poster that I made before that I will make sure that I can show you in the video. All right. Now it says to write the irregular. Hey guys, sorry about that. I accidentally clicked out of my screen and then it went away. Okay, so just to remind you, you should be on this page right here on irregular plural nouns. This is basically a review of exactly what we just talked about and what we already learned with our handy dandy poster. on my wardrobe. All right, let's jump in. This says to write the irregular plural form of each noun. Now, I noticed that wish ends in sh. What do I need to do when something adds in a sh or a ch sound? I know that I have to add es, because if I didn't do that, it would just be wish, which doesn't make sense. Number 2 says elf. What do I do when a word ends in an f? Well, I drop the f and add ves. Elf becomes elves. Next word is family. So I see that there's a y here, so I have to check the letter before the y. Is that a vowel or a consonant? Think about it, because that's going to change the way that I handle that word. Family becomes families. I drop the y and add ies, because that was a consonant before the y. Goose. What do I do for the word goose? Do I say gooses? That doesn't really sound right. Remember, if it doesn't sound right, then there's probably a rule that you need to check. Goose becomes geese. That's one of those tricky words where you just kind of have to memorize it. Number 5 says flash. Let me check the ending of that word. Flash. Ends in an sh. If it ends in a sh or ch sound, I know I have to add es. That word is flashes. Box. Check that last letter. Box. How can I make that plural? Box becomes boxes. Because if it ends in that sound, you just add es. Wife. I see an F again. What do I do when I see an F? Drop the F and add ves. Butterfly. See a consonant before the Y. What's my rule for that? Drop the Y and add ies. Butterflies. Shelf. We've already dealt with this before. When I see an F, drop the F and add ves. Tomato. Oh, we haven't actually talked about this one, which is totally my fault. Tomatoes is actually the same thing as any word that ends in a sh or x sound. You can see it right here. If it ends in an O, you add the es. So tomato becomes tomatoes. And the reason why you have to do that is because if you didn't, this is what you would get. Tomatoes. Tomatoes, which doesn't make sense. It's tomatoes. So O is the same thing as the sh and ch sound. You add es if it ends in an O. Dress. Check the ending there. Ends in a s sound. So what do I need to do for this? I need to add es. All right. Bench. What does that word end in? ch. So I know bench becomes benches. I added the es because it had a ch sound or a s sound at the end. And we know now if it has an O at the end, it's the same thing. You add es. All right, you guys are almost done. You're doing a really, really awesome job. It's time to eliminate the last page from word study. Do you remember what eliminate means? It means to get rid of. So we're going to get rid of this last page. Go ahead and turn the page. You guys are doing great. I know that there's a ton of word study today, and I'm super proud of your focus. Keep it up. Okay, let's look at plural, irregular plural nouns. The child ran to the park. Now I'm going to ask myself, what is the plural of child? Is it childs? That sounds wrong. And I know from experience, if it sounds wrong, it probably is wrong. What is the plural of child? Children. Your foot have grown. You need new boots. What is the plural of foot? Is it foots? Nope, it is feet. The plural of foot is feet. Many person will attend the show. What's the plural of person? Plural of person is People. Books go on the shelf. Let me check the ending of the word shelf. It ends in an F, so it's actually my favorite song. Books go on the, drop the F and add V-E-S. They go on the shelves. We're having tuna casserole tonight. Plural of tuna is actually just tuna. I know I didn't tell you that, but now you know. You don't say there's a bunch of tunas. You say there's a bunch of tuna. The farmer's cow had 2 calves. Check the end of that word. Ends in an F. What do? Drop the F and add V-E-S. Fun fact, cows are my favorite animal. And on the farm, I have watched cows give birth to calves, which is another way I can always remember that I drop the F and add V-E-S, because the cow does not give birth to calves. It gives birth to calves. All right. Anyways. Number 7. We are going to skip because we don't need to know the plural criterion right now. The choir had mainly man in it. How can I make man plural? That's right. Man becomes men. Trees lose their leaf. In the fall, I see there's an F at the end. Yet again, drop the F and add V-E-S. Trees lose their leaves in the fall. I could hear the blank howling last night. Wolf ends in F. Drop the F and add V-E-S. All right, that was a lot of word study work. Great job staying with me this whole time. Remember, your word of the day today was eliminate, and eliminate means to get rid of. So you should eliminate the rest of your work today and go play outside before it rains. It is looking pretty gray and grim right now. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday. Feel free to comment with any questions you have or just shoot me a text. All right, bye.